So Kelly, who is the also quite larger than life Oriental chap?
Hmm.
Asian.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've been listening to a lot of Gordon Soley recently, and he likes to use the word Oriental. So
Yeah, it's a safe word. Tor Kamata actually was born in Hawaii in March 9th, 1937. So he's actually Hawaiian. Um, his
of
his
course,
name, there's no way. His real name, there's no way around it. His real name sounds really funny. It was McRonald Kamaka. Yeah, so we'll just get
That
that
sounds
out of
that,
the
that
way.
sounds like a drunk guy trying to tell you where he wants to eat
Yeah, I know.
at 4 in the morning.
McDonald's, man.
Where do I hear
Get a
me?
McDonald's. Oh, anyway.
he looks like he's had his fair share of
Yeah.
McDonald's.
McDonald's, right?
Oh,
It's like what? I was like coming to America. No, it's McDowell's.
McDowell's.
McDonald's.
it would have been ironic if Mr. Saito's real name was McRonald.
Oh, tough Japanese rocket chop. Throw. Window get Big Mac.
Do you know one thing I've learned about wrestling from this time period? Basically, nobody was from where they said they were. Like Brower was built from Canada, and he was from Delaware. You know, every Japanese guy is secretly Hawaiian, except
Yeah.
Well, you got
Yeah.
Ricky Steamboat, who's supposed to be Hawaiian, who's not Hawaiian,
ev-
fighting a guy who's Hawaiian, pretending to be from
Yeah.
Japan. But Ricky Steamboat eventually does become a ninja because he has slanty eyes, and you know,
every Native American is actually, Italian or whatever. It's like,
yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, everyone in this match was from somewhere else. So it's,
Until until
so
Tonka.
anyway, Mick Ronald was into amateur wrestling in high school, and he joined the Air Force. And I know it's hilarious.
did you guys have that advert there, McNuggets Away, where they did the parachute? Do you remember that advert?
No.
There was an
Oh,
advert in the early '90s of chicken
Oh, man.
McNuggets jumping out of a plane, and they'd land in like the barbecue sauce or whatever.
Oh, yeah, I remember that.
And for our
Well,
American listeners,
they apparently went through a time warp and landed in Tor Kamata's mouth, like a lot of them.
Oh, God.
oh, okay. So when he was stationed in Turkey, like I said, he was in the Air Force. He trained with, quote, some of the greatest amateur wrestlers in the world. And when he returned to Hawaii, he met the promoter there, Ed Francis. And Ed Francis convinced him to turn into a professional wrestler. And he was trained by Curtis Iakea, Mark Lewin, and Nick Bockwinkel. So three pretty good wrestlers to train a guy. He turned pro in 1959. And he was named Tor Kamata because it's a reference to the Grand Inquisitor from the Spanish Inquisition, Thomas de Torquemada.
Oh,
And I did not know that. Yeah, interesting. And the first date I could find for him was in Memphis, 1959, April 20th. This was Nick Goulas at the time, the promoter, and he defeated someone named Greg Peterson. His early records are pretty spotty. He wrestled in Portland in 1962 as Dr. Moto, and he used the Dr. Moto name quite a bit. He wrestled under his real name in Hawaii in 1965. I guess that was the only place on earth where it wouldn't have been mocked. He wrestled quite a bit in the South, Oklahoma, Florida. He wrestled in Kansas City, St. Louis. In the late 60s, in the AWA as Dr. Moto, he teamed with someone named Mitsu Arakawa. And they won the tag team titles, the AWA tag team titles, defeating Pat O'Connor and Wilbur Snyder.
wow.
Pretty notable team. December 2nd, 1967.
I wonder who took the pinfall there. Does it say?
No, I'm That's a yeah. I don't know. Was Connor O'Connor a big star, a big name in the AWA? I think Snyder was, but I'm not sure about O'Connor.
I'd imagine it was
Uh,
O'Connor.
on the AWA side, there's O'Connor as an old man versus Bockwinkel,
Oh,
so he
that's
might have
right.
some recognition of that.
Yeah, probably salt in the eyes. Pin, I'm assuming. You know,
Oh man.
Yeah. Don't bring it up.
let's be honest here. Um, so that was 1967, December 2nd, 1967. And Mitsu Arakawa, actually, I've never heard of him. And we come across a lot of names, or I do, that I've never heard of. But he wrestled for 23, he had a 23-year career. Um,
Wow.
some of these guys, like, you dig into it, and wow, like, totally forgotten, like a total forgotten name. Anyway, that team held the titles for over a year. They had some pretty long reigns. I think I mentioned in a previous episode of in the AWA for tag team champions holding the belts for a year wasn't unusual. So they held the belts all the way to December 28th, 1968, losing to the legendary team of Dick the Bruiser and the Crusher in Chicago. From there, Kamata, this is where he really, as far as being a legend in wrestling, he became a legend in Calgary. It's true, Stampede Wrestling. I'd heard the name. Actually, to be honest, I always confused Tor Kamata with Professor Toro Tanaka, who wrestled around the same time. And it was Mr. Fuji's tag team partner in the 1970s. But the name Tor Kamata definitely, even to this day in Calgary, or at least when I last lived there, was a name that you would bring up as someone that was notable in its history. He wrestled off and on in Calgary from 1971 to 1977 and held the North American title, which was the top belt in Stampede, 3 times. Now, his interactions, this is where he's what he's really known for in Calgary, were his interactions with commentator Ed Whalen. And, a lot of people, don't like Ed Whalen. He's considered, one of the worst commentators of all time. I won't, argue and say he was great, but in the context of growing up in Calgary, it's hard to hate Ed because he was this kind of like grandfather type figure or an uncle. He was on TV a lot. He was the sportscaster on Channel 7 News. He did the play-by-play for the Calgary Flames for the NHL. He was a big presence in Calgary. Definitely not Lance Russell, but anyway, Ed was okay in my books. But
they're in that Canada Memphis rivalry just popped up right there.
That's true. Yeah.
I hear it.
How does he compare to Larry Matasik?
Matasik was better. I mean, Whalen.
I mean, he would like butcherize like angles, would like no sell them or would no sell the heels, and yeah, he was pretty hideous.
Did he? Wait. You're saying he did hockey as well?
Yeah, for years. Yeah, NHL.
Was there when there was like a fight? Was it a malfunction at the junction?
No, he had like hockey exclusive catchphrases. Takes a shot was one of them. But yeah, it was weird because this was going on coinciding with Stampede Wrestling. Like he did it at the same time. He did hockey, and it was on the same channel, Channel 7. Yeah.
I'll grant you that he was an icon, though. I'm not knocking that part, but yeah.
Oh yeah, he's a Calgary icon.
Yeah.
That's not his.
Never call him a good announcer, though. But yeah, I'll give him iconic status.
Was he like? Is he basically like a Joe Garagiola for Calgary?
Well, like I guess as far as doing other stuff, besides wrestling, but I mean nowhere near as talented. He just, I mean, he had a lot of pull in the city, and he produced the TV. Like he was the guy in charge of what made air, basically.
Oh, he was powerful. Man.
He's the guy to blame for all the clipped matches.
Yep.
We'll never see it full.
Yep. No,
could you imagine? Because wasn't the whole thing there when they did the British Bulldogs feuding? He was so against it that he just no-sold it on air and killed the angle. I mean, that's a powerful announcer to be able to do.
I know.
To kill an angle like that.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And he had problems. There was another thing with Bad News Allen in
Yeah,
19.
that was great.
That was pretty legendary. That ended up like the territory shut down, and they had to hold shows on Indian reservations after that.
Right.
It was so bad because they couldn't wrestle in their main building anymore. Anyway, yeah. So Kamata and Whalen had this like kind of like a Muhammad Ali, Howard Cosell type thing going with like comical interactions, and this is where Kamata's like catchphrase, like that he's most remembered for in Calgary, came from. And I'll try my best here. I'm not Johnny, but anyways, his catchphrase was "No chance, Mister Whalen."
Oh, very good.
Is that pretty much a riff, pretty much off of the other guy you get him confused with from the James Bond?
Oh,
You
odd
have
job,
no
maybe.
chance, Mr. Bond.
Was that his catchphrase?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, probably. Yeah. Good one, Pete. Yeah, I didn't think of
Wow, I don't remember Odd Job talking.
that.
I could swear it might not have been Hot Job. Maybe it was somebody else that was Asian.
Oh, let's
Maybe it was
stop.
Dr. No going, you don't
I mean,
have
I
a
haven't
chance,
seen.
Mr. Bond.
I haven't seen Goldfinger in fucking like 15 years. But I was like, Odd Job talked, really?
I don't think. Maybe I'm getting confused. Maybe I'm getting confused with another Asian villain from the Bond series.
Well, they all look alike, you know.
You know those, or maybe it's some guy playing Oriental that I'm getting confused with. I don't know.
Oh, it's wrestling at this point. Like this guy was a Irish
Maybe it's
Catholic
some
from
Hawaiian
Boston.
guy. Yeah.
This
Maybe
Irish
it's
Catholic, this
I'm
Irish
confusing
Catholic
him with-
from Boston played a black man. You
Yeah,
know.
I'm confusing him with the Hawaiian James Bond villain. I'm my bad.
Well, he was a wrestler. Odd Job was a wrestler in the 50s.
That's right.
Harry. I can't remember his name now.
Sack.
Harry.
Did it? Was his finisher throw in the hat in the ring? Like, just,
Yep.
sorry, carry on, Kelly.
Okay, we'll get through this, and yeah, this show's gonna be epic long. We can tell from that. We haven't even got to the first match yet. Let's see. Okay, so in Calgary, you had an epic feud with Dan Profit, Cowboy Dan Profit, who was one of the top baby faces in Stampede history, definitely the top baby face of the 70s, and they actually had a ladder match against each other in September 1972 with a big bag of money hanging from the ceiling. And Bret Hart tells the story, I believe, in his book. So I'm not sure that may have been the first ladder match. It's got to be near the first, because I'm pretty sure.
I read Bret's book. Doesn't he say the first ladder match was Sylvester Ritter and
Hold on.
Well, they had one definitely.
Bret Hart
That was-
doesn't Bret Hart say this first ladder match was him against Razor
Yeah.
against Razor
Oh,
Ramon?
in the WWF against Shawn
WWF.
I'm sure I read somewhere that Bret claimed credit for inventing the ladder match somewhere.
Brett
Right,
invented
for bringing
everything.
it to,
Well,
bringing
he
it to
he brought the
WWF.
idea. Yeah, he brought the
Brought the
concept.
idea in, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, him and Dynamite did it in Calgary and stuff.
Oh yeah, and Bret Hart and Bad News Allen had a ladder match. There was tons in Calgary
Yeah.
actually.
Was Calgary the first promotion to use them, the ladder matches?
I think so.
I think
That's
so.
the story. Yeah. I know the AWA was doing ladder matches in the 80s. I remember reading about them in the mags.
Well, yeah, we didn't we watch Johnny? Who was it?
Blackwell.
Jerry Blackwell.
Yeah, Crusher
Jerry
Blackwell.
Blackwell and I think Colonel De Beers.
That was a pretty good one, yeah.
And it was kind of like Jerry Blackwell's in a ladder match. I have to see this. And it was great. It was a great match.
Also, Kamato's in a ladder match. I mean, it would have had to been a pretty big ladder for this dude.
It was a step ladder, actually.
Yeah.
They just, you know.
Yeah, hey.
Oh, so anyways, Kamata actually established roots in Calgary. He owned a restaurant there in the 70s, and he lived in Calgary, I think, up into his death or close to it. So for as far as we're concerned with the WWF, Kamata entered New York for the first time in 1976 as Killer Tor Kamata, managed by Freddie Blassie. And that was Blassie's thing to manage the foreign heels. And he actually played a key role in getting Bob Backlund over on TV. in 1977. They had 2 matches. In the first match, Kamata, of course, threw salt in Backlund's eyes, leading to a DQ finish.
Excellent.
And then the next week, in a rematch, there was a Texas death match, which I think was probably rare for TV to have a Texas death match. Kamata again threw salt in Backlund's eyes, but this time Backlund wiped the salt out with the referee's shirt, apparently, and then delivered like a big-ass atomic drop on Kamata and won the match. And this was Backlund's first big TV win. That aired May 7th, 1977. So as we see Kamata here, he was basically a JTTS at this point. He left in 77, came back, and just probably not too long before this match that we watched. Basically, this stint in 1980, he was just a jobber for the Stars. He did continue wrestling until 1987, and in Japan, and in Japan, he had a huge win in 1978. He defeated Giant Baba for the Pacific Wrestling. Yeah.
Wow.
Whoa.
Yeah, and it gets better. For the Pacific Wrestling Federation title, which Baba had held for 5 years at that point.
Wow.
And the funny thing is, Kamata lost it 11 days later to Billy Robinson.
So he's basically he's their
He was
Stan
the transition.
Stasiak. He's their
basically.
Stan Stasiak.
Basically, he was. Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
I think I want to say this is part of the promotion where it was like the IWA or something like that. It was like weird. It was like a weird thing. I can't. I got to do a look at it a little bit more just because I remember that it was like Billy Robinson and Baba, and it was just a whole weird situation, and it was like a big interpromotional feud.
Okay. It was June 1st, 1978 was when he beat Baba. And his last match was June 11th, 1987 in Osaka, Japan in a 6-man tag. And Kamata, he wrestled all over the place. He also wrestled in Australia, New Zealand, Puerto Rico, and actually was involved in countless tag team championship runs all over the place. So he was a star of some note.